and actually puts people in a better position at wherever they go for work in terms of the leadership possibility, because we teach you to think a little bit more deeply about the issues, you know, in the context of larger context, you know, the country, the industry, the global context, as opposed to just the skills that you have to do a specific job you have to do. So it's more applied than a standard MA program that would have all this fundamental knowledge. But it has also, compared to MBA programs, which are very applied, we actually have a lot of training in economics and statistics and econometrics, so it's a lot more quantitative than an MBA program. And so we have, I mentioned already, the core principles, but we also, each class involves working with actual data, actual projects, and we also teach programming skills. And we have now a number of classes on data science, data management that are also part of the program or could be chosen as elective. We specifically teach the labs on R, Stata, and Python. So far, Python is an elective. R and Stata are required, but Python is not required, but most students end up taking it because, hey, if you're already in the program and part of the program is giving you an opportunity to learn Python in a hands-on environment with a whole bunch of programs that the instructor has already prepared, that's an amazing set of skills. It's a lot easier. I took this class myself in the spring at the Python course because I didn't know how to program in Python. So I was sitting on that class that was taught by a graduate student instructor, and that was an extremely efficient learning. And I'm now coding in Python all the time. So I can vouch for that being taught well. So where do our students go? So a lot of them go into business, and this is an actual, not hypothetical list of firms where our alumni got their first jobs. And so you see, you have here, you know, financial companies that, you know, people specializing in the finance, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how the specialization goes. They end up a lot in these financial companies. People more focusing on applied work, a lot of them end up in the big tech kind of companies, because those companies do focus a lot on data work, and we teach a lot of data work and kind of with the economics of data work. In fact, I had a discussion with a chief economist at Amazon some years ago, and he was saying that it's very hard to find somebody who has a deep understanding of economics, so knows what kind of questions we want to ask of the data, but also has some kind of data analysis and computing skills to know what kind of questions can be answered, right? And so he has a bunch of data scientists, computer scientists who know how to answer questions. Now he has a bunch of economists who know how to ask questions, but somehow those sets do not always overlap, and having people who can talk to both teams is very crucial and very hard to find. And so we do have people who ended up in Amazon, but also more generally, you know, PG&E, pharmaceuticals, Target, Toyota, people went all over the world, okay? We also have alumni who work for different branches of the government and different level of the government. So if private sector is not your cup of tea, the skills that we teach are also valued in different government organizations. Some people went to work as researchers at the universities. So this is the list of places where people went for a career researcher position, right? Not like a research assistant for a year, but there are some research centers that have career researcher positions, or other career positions at the universities. And you know, some people go for PhD. And I also created a word cloud of what kind of jobs people have. And you can see that data analyst and financial analyst is pretty much the most common starting jobs for our graduates. But there is also, you know, product analyst, engineer, business development rep, you know, business analytics manager, software engineer, audit associate, marketing. So there's a whole bunch of jobs out there that people are looking for our alumni. And as Sheila mentioned, and I will get back to that a little bit, we really help our students get the jobs in a variety of ways. And one of these ways is we have this professional development seminar that runs through winter and spring quarters, and it's required, where the job application skills are taught, like referee writing skills, interviewing skills, but also our former alumni, from Silicon Valley are invited to give a presentation on how they got there, what kind of skills, and maybe they're hiring this year. So you actually get to meet a lot of people who took this path and ended up where they wanted to end up. I have Mike Cagney, who is a co-founder of SoFi, talking my financial markets class next Tuesday. So students in my class are going to also get to know him and find out how he went from being a student in our program to being a very successful person. So, so now a little more about the program. We have the following requirements. So we have a math camp, and it's required, but we allow students to test out of it. So sometime in the summer, once you're admitted, you get an email from me saying, you know, math camp is going to start on such and such date, buy your tickets. And you have so many, you know, however many weeks to try and test out of the class. And then basically what I would do is send you a final from this year or some other year or some other exam to do at home, and send me the answers, and I will grade it. And if you did well, then you are not required. You effectively get a pass on that math class. You get the class waived. Okay. So last summer we had 2 students who attempted to test out, and one passed and one didn't. So the one who didn't ended up taking the class. So there is no penalty for trying. And it's a good way to find out, like, what is the level of the math we're expecting, right? So if you think you know math, and then you end up figuring out that what we're asking is a little bit out of your depth, that's fine. You can just say, oh, I looked at the test and I don't think I want to do it. I think I want to take a math camp. Okay. So in addition, then we require 9 5-unit courses. You do need to get a passing grade on 7 of them to graduate. And we have those 3 labs, Stata R and Python, and the professional development seminar. And we define 3 tracks that people can choose, and that's determined by what kind of capstone exam you are going to take. And the tracks are applied economics, finance, or you can kind of take the average of both and call it general track. It kind of depends on what your interests are, where you think you're going to end up professionally. So generally the class splits about half and half between applied and finance, and maybe 1 or 2 students end up doing general. That's more for people who want to focus on fundamentals classes, less on applied classes, and maybe go for a PhD program or something like that. So the way we're doing it, so you don't have to think about the track in the fall. And so I'm giving you the courses this year. It's a little bit subject to change because of the faculty availability, but generally this is what we teach in the fall. There is a fundamental microanalysis, which is a graduate class. So it's conceptually very different from what you see in your undergraduate, a lot more abstract, a lot more math. And it's taught by faculty, obviously here, with the support of graduate student the TAs, graduate student TAs who help. Then we also have the basic finance class, which is also required for everybody, and applied econometrics class. And that's followed with a Stata lab. So we're trying to, the instructor who teaches the Stata lab, we're asking them to coordinate with the econometrics faculty to make sure there is a, you know, you use the Stata to do your homework for econometrics, for example. Then in the winter, that's when the choices begin. So for the fall, you kind of spend figuring out if you want to do applied or finance. You have to do another course in econometrics. And then for people who want to do applied, they have to take 217, which is a designated master's program econometrics course. which is a bit more rigorous. For others, we're allowed to take 114, which is, it's an undergraduate course, but it's listed as a approved elective for approved class for the master's program. And 114 is more of a data science course. It's more focused on data science than the standard econometrics class. And then if you're choosing applied track, you can take a public policy analysis 259B. That's a designated master's course, or you can take another elective, or you can take 2 electives instead. And we have a question from Ian.
If we took 114 already in undergrad, do we get credit for that?
You don't get credit for that.
Okay.
And you theoretically could take it again, but I would say, you know, you're in the program to learn. So I would recommend to, you know, take 217, or alternatively, you know, you can petition to me and say, look, I already had 114. Can I instead take an additional elective?
Okay.
Right, because we do want you to take during your master's program 9 courses, right? So you can't just say, I'm going to skip one. Yeah, but we can work out an alternative solution that makes sense. Yeah, go on.
So does that also apply if we were to hypothetically take any of the advanced micro or macro classes during our undergrad?
No, because the graduate, the micro and macro that we teach are completely different level from the upper division classes that you might have taken in the undergrad.
No, but what if while we are undergrad, we take the 200 series?
I don't know if you can. It wouldn't be the classes in our program, right? Because I don't think we have any undergrads enrolled in our master's courses. So if you took some other, you know, like a PhD level courses, it's not going to be the same necessarily, because master's courses are designed for the master's program. It will be easier for you to pass them for sure, but it's not going to be it wouldn't give you you know, an excuse to not take the class.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. All right, so then for the finance track, you can take, this year we have 2 electives, 234, which is financial institution and markets. I teach that, and corporate finance. Or you can take one of them and use another elective, and I'll give you the list of all the electives. And for the general track, you can take any 2 electives. The only issue with like taking electives that are not specifically designed for the master's program is that they're not going to be in the capstone exam, and you need to take enough of those designed master classes to be able to pass the capstone exam. So you can't just, you know, like for a general track, if you take, I think actually you might be okay if you take 2 electives from like a different department or something like that, but for other tracks, you do need to take some of those designated courses. And then in the spring, this year we're teaching macro in the spring 202. Last year we had macro in the winter, so the, you know, accounting was a little bit different. And then we have a required class for applied track, which is micro applications. And then applied track can choose financial engineering, which is a finance course, or any other elective. And then in finance track, you have to take financial engineering, and you can take another finance class, which is international financial management, or you can take micro applications or any other elective. For general track in the spring, there is no choice. You take micro and you take financial engineering because you had all these electives you could take in the winter. As electives, there is also an option to sign on with a faculty to work on a term paper. So that would require, you know, an explicit agreement from the faculty member as a kind of independent study class that you can take for 5 units as an elective, and it would have to have some deliverable at the end of the quarter. So students do it sometimes, not very frequently. But if you're thinking of doing something like that, you can think a lot. You have to think ahead because you need to establish communication with the faculty member way before the quarter starts, so that, you know, for whatever quarter you want to do it, you need to have that faculty's agreement before you register for classes. So you cannot just decide last minute that I'm going to write a paper. So that's our faculty who are teaching this year. Have amazing faculty. Kai Pomeranke is a lecturer who is also working in financial markets, and he is teaching a lot of our finance classes, not all of them. You know, and then, you know, basically different people, you can look it up, see who is teaching what. But if you had any of this faculty in your undergraduate classes, if you're in UC, a UC student, a UC Santa Cruz student, you'll know that they're doing a fantastic job. And 114 is taught by also our faculty, Julian, what I don't remember his last name. I should know my colleague's last name, but I only call him by first name. That we hired 2 years ago, and he designed that class specifically to be, you know, good for both undergraduate and master's students. All right, so going to the electives, when I say any other elective, you have a very long list to choose from, and that's a list of approved electives for our program. So they're not designed for our program, but they're available. So we have business and management economics major in our department, and accounting is taught for that major. And so some of those classes are also approved for the master's program. So you can take accounting, you can take machine learning, management, you can take more formal econometrics. So for example, for the question on 114, if you don't want to take 217, you could take advanced econometrics. The other ones are actual electives, I already mentioned. Let me get some water. Okay. So then we also have classes in other departments that are approved. You can take stochastic differential equations if you want more math. That's approved for the master's program. A lot in computer science and engineering. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but basically there are a lot of options because we're trying to provide the data science, data management skills. So all these different electives are approved for our program. There's environmental studies course that on policy that is available, would fit nicely with the applied track. And then a whole bunch of statistics classes as well. Okay, any questions while I take another sip? Okay. I already talked about the professional development seminar. That's, you know, it's a required course, but it's really more of a super useful thing. So, and Sheila helps organize. So Rob Fairley generally is teaching it. Sheila helps organize all the events and all the speakers. And so she's a key person on that and taking good care of our students. So for the capstone, the way we do it, there's going to be an exam at the end of the spring quarter, and we're trying to like optimize the time to not conflict too much with the finals, but also not to be too far after the school year is over. So we're still working on this to make it as convenient as possible. For applied, you have to complete 4 of the 5 sections. And so what's in red, this 200 through 217 are the courses that are required if you're doing applied track. So, you know, you have guaranteed taken those courses, right? So you can just answer this 4 sections. However, if you also took the economic policy class, 259B, then you have a choice of 4 or 5 sections. So for example, if you find a 201 question to be too complicated or 200 question to be complicated, you can answer 4 other sections. So if you didn't take this 259B, you're just putting yourself in a position where you don't have a choice of what questions you answer during the capstone, but otherwise there's no other penalty. For finance, we have 5 finance courses. And 2 of them are required and 3 of them are elective. But you have to take at least 4 finance courses to complete the capstone, right? So you cannot have a degree if you only took the 2 required finance courses and then ended up taking a whole bunch of statistics and computer science. You won't be able to pass the capstone test. So from the electives we are offering, you have to choose 2 out of 3. Some people choose 3 out of 3, and then they have options for what to take during the capstone exam. We do ask people which sections you're planning to take. It's okay to change your mind during the exam once you see the questions. We're pretty flexible on that. For the general track, because different people take different electives, we basically only have required courses and there is no wiggle room. So you take 200, 201, which are micro courses. So it's micro, applied micro, and 2 finance required courses. And so the general track is just that. Okay, any questions? And so in terms of the diploma you get, so you get a degree in Masters of Science in Applied Economics and Finance. And I don't know if the transcript, that's something I'm meaning to check, but I don't actually see people's transcripts, whether it actually says with which concentration it is, but you definitely can put on your resume that you have the Master of Science in Applied Economics and Finance with concentration in Applied Economics or with concentration in Finance. And, you know, I can write a letter of recommendation for any of the students applying for jobs that would also specify what kind of focus they have. Okay. So how to apply? There's this link and it works. So once we send you the slides, you will have all these links. There's only one deadline and it's early compared to a lot of other programs. It's February 28th. So it's pretty soon. We do have financial aid available for students, and we actually have some limited amount of application fee waiver that we can offer from the donor funds we have in a department. That's first come, first serve. Once the students are, you know, when we extend the offer of admission, we also notify if we're offering any financial aid. We do generally offer 2,000 to 4,000 students. It's all merit-based. Yes, February 28th is the deadline to start in the fall, correct. But in addition to this financial aid, we usually have TA positions available. So the way this works is our undergraduate classes require TAs. And our PhD students have first dibs on those TA positions, right? Because that's just the way the university is set up. However, we also have a lot of PhD students who get GSR, graduate researcher positions, so they're not available to TA. And so that frees up the space for master students to apply and be hired for the TA position. In last few years, our PhD program was pretty small, although our first year class this year is 10 people. So next year, it means some of them will be available to TA. But this year we have six master students TAing in the fall. And I think we have another 6 or even 7 TAing in the winter. Basically our department decides who gets those TA jobs based on merit and prior experience, and also based on, you know, the financial need that, you know, is requested. And TA, so I'm trying to spread it out so it's not always the same 6 people who get to TA. And the way it works is that TA pays the stipend, but also covers the tuition. I don't think it covers professional fees, but it covers tuition and university fees. Okay. So GRE is required, and there is no cutoff, but we are looking at the GRE score to judge the, you know, math prep mostly. So we're mostly looking at the quant section, and we're looking at, you know, so there is no cutoff, but on average, the students that we do admit have 160 on quant GRE or 45.5 on GMAT. right? It means we do admit students with lower scores, right? That's an average. But that's kind of to let you know where those numbers actually are. If you're just not good at testing standardized tests and you end up with GRE or GMAT that has a worse score, but your transcript has a lot of quantitative classes, math and upper division econ that has good grades, you're going to be fine. Okay, so we're looking at the whole application holistically. We're not just trying to, dismiss application based on one or criteria or another. The same thing with GPA. We do have a minimum GPA of 3.0 that's accepted. Again, there could be exceptions made based, if we get very strong letters or very good standardized score tests and the GPA is close to 3.0, but generally below 3.0, we don't admit. The average GPA of students that do get in is 3.33. So that's also kind of where we go. We do understand that people coming from different undergraduate programs come from programs with more or less grade inflation. So if you have 3.0 from Harvard, it's not so good because they have a lot of grade inflation. But, if you're coming from Caltech with 3.0, that's pretty much a straight A student. So we do know this idiosyncrasies in our admissions committee. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. So if you do have questions that come up later, we have a website. UCSC is about to transition. It's been in a state of about to transition to a different backend for our website. So we're not doing a major update, but all the information should be up to date, but we're gonna improve it greatly once we transition to a different technology. You can email me if you have any questions. My email is there. We also have a whole group of people supporting our graduate programs. And so there is a generic email, Econ Grad Coordinator, that you see. That's what that ugly word is. It's an abbreviation for Econ Grad Coordinator. Currently, Minu is probably going to answer to that email, but a number of people are monitoring that email, so you will get attention quickly. BA is fine. You just need to have a bachelor degree. Any kind of undergraduate degree is fine. It's a Master's of Science program because it's so quantitative and it's ranked as a STEM, it's categorized as a STEM program, which, for those of you on a visa actually makes a big difference in terms of how long you can stay in the US following the completion of the program. Any questions? You guys are so quiet. I kind of went through all my slides quickly. Okay, well, let me stop sharing so we can have a better environment.
Well,
Yes, go ahead, Ali.
I have one question. So this is mostly directed towards this whole presentation was for students that were applying for this upcoming fall.
Mm-hmm.
They asked that as well. Okay, cool. I guess I'm just ahead of the game.
No, it's good you're here and you're not the only one who is ahead of the a year ahead. I'm assuming you're maybe not a frosh. So it's good to know what we expect. And in the previous session in November, we had some questions about like, oh, what classes should I do to be better prepared? And so if you're senior, that would be a bit late. But if you're junior, focusing on more quantitative classes, some math, stat classes, looking at a bunch of upper division of econ classes is something that makes your transcript look more attractive. And also because that makes you more prepared for our program, because we want all the students to succeed. And so the reason we don't admit everybody who applies is because we can see that not all the students who apply would be able to complete the program based on the previous experience. So.
Is there like some sort of list somewhere where you would recommend for like a junior or a sophomore in my position.
Are you a UCSC student?
Yeah, I'm a junior at UC.
You know what? Send me an email, sign up for my office hours, and we're going to look at what's available. Yeah,
Okay, great. Thank you.
yeah, I'm happy to look at that.
Thank you.
One thing I forgot to mention that I usually start with is that graduate program is fundamentally different from an undergraduate program. And the main reason for that is it's a lot smaller. So this year's class is 18 students. We're actually aiming for about 40, so this year is a bit small. But even with 40 students and 2 main tracks, it means that there are some classes you attend that have, 20 or fewer students, which is actually pretty good size to have a good discussion and individual attention. But with the 40 students total in the class, we have a department of about 25 faculty members. It means you can get personalized attention from a lot of faculty. And it's very different, especially in our large university, it's very different from undergraduate where, there's just no way you can get so much attention from the faculty. And so it's very different. And it's also less competitive in the sense that, once you are in a group of the class, there is not much that you compete against each other, right? So maybe a couple of you would be applying for the same job, but otherwise, it's really all kind of a teamwork. In my class, I only have team, group assignments. There is no individual homework. There's still individual final because I have to give the grades, but, it's really trying. So it's a very friendly and kind of nice environment. And all the faculty and staff hope that each and every single student will pass the program and graduate with flying colors. We don't have a quota on how many, straight A students we get. That said, the material that you see is a lot more complicated. And so students that come in are usually used to getting high B's and A's in all their classes, right? Because that's the selection group, the students who choose to go for a graduate degree are better students. And then also we admit the ones that we think will succeed, which means then if you were in the top 5%, top 10% of all the classes you've been taking, now you're in a group of people who are all coming from the top 5%. And so that's part of the adjustment that the students sometimes see, like, oh, I was always a top 5% student. How come I'm now like a median student? Well, that's because your comparison group just changed dramatically. And so that's okay, but it takes some adjustment you don't need, and the grading also changes dramatically, right? So in undergraduate, if you're below median, you probably are not getting a B+. But in graduate classes, you are getting a B+ very easily because B- is the lowest passing grade. And so it's, the grading is also very different. So once the students start in the program, we do have an orientation session where I remind everybody of this, because if all the top 5% students try to be top 5%, that just becomes too stressful for everybody. And there is absolutely no need for this. And, as you know, from the statistics you've already taken, everybody cannot be in the top 5%. So that's something to keep in mind. Yes, Ian.
For the application, it says like 3 to 5 letters of rec.
Yeah.
Is having like 3 professors and then 2 letters from people in the field of the masters, is that good, or is only professors recommended for the letters?
No, if you feel like you can get letters from people who know you well and can speak, because frequently, especially if you're coming from large university, all the professors can write is, he took my class, he got an A. Like that I can see from the transcript. But if somebody can give you a more personal recommendation, that's very good, because we also want to know what kind of person you are. And we read all the letters. So, yeah.
Okay, because we were online for 2 years. So like the majority of the professors I'm getting to write my letters of rec don't know me at all.
Yeah, so still have them write, because, when I write a letter of recommendation for somebody I don't know that well, and I taught like 200 student classes in Berkeley before I started here, I would at least describe what kind of class it was and how hard it was to get an A. right? So that, so still ask those professors for recommendation if you got a good grade. If you didn't get a good grade, it won't be very informative. But if you got a good grade, maybe you don't think they remember you, but maybe they do. And they might describe the class and what did it take to get an A. You know, it required a lot of data work and reading and math and all that. And that's the information I want to see in the application to be comfortable admitting a student.
Thank you.
Yeah, the admission committee is me and 4 other faculty from the econ department. So we're reviewing the applications and sorting through. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Ian.
And then everything's going to be in person, like it's not online, and is it going to be 5 days a week or?
Right,
do the
it's a good
classes-
question. So it's a full-time program. Some students manage to keep some part-time job, but it's very hard because there is homework and everything. And as you saw, you take 17 units at least each quarter. And so everything is in person. The classes generally are Monday through Thursday. The discussion sections could be on Friday, and the professional development seminar is on Friday, because that's the time where it doesn't conflict with any other class, because we have so many electives, we have to accommodate everybody. But it's also a time when it's easier to get visitors to come. So yeah, it's in person, every single class. Actually, let me backtrack. I think some labs and some, I think Professor Pomeranke, I think he's teaching 233 online. I'm not sure exactly, but you know, other classes are in person, including a math camp. So we expect students to come to campus 3 weeks before the quarter starts. And that's actually a good thing, because the network connections you develop. So basically, you know, we had a number of people who met in our master's program ended up getting married. We also know that the students in our program, because it's a difficult program, you're all in the same boat. You all work together. It becomes lifelong friendships, and it also helps in the professional networking sense. So like not being in person, you would lose that for sure. Yeah. Okay, go on.
Compared to a PhD program, how different is it?
Oh, PhD program is very different. So PhD program has, you know, 2 years of classes, and then ideally no more 3 years of dissertation work. And so PhD degree, you usually would go for that if you want to be a professor, teach in academia, or be an economist in a policy job, like in the IMF, World Bank, Federal Reserve, that's that kind of places. So it's a different, some people with PhD go work in the industry or financial sector. It's less common because you end up being overqualified essentially. But a lot of students feel like getting a master's degree is a good kind of step to see if you want to enroll into a PhD program. And it actually also helps getting accepted into a PhD program because, you know, PhD applications are very competitive, and having this master's level classes that you get good grades in strengthens the application. And then, you know, you also then get letters for your PhD program from your master's faculty who know you really well compared to your undergraduate faculty. So there are a whole bunch of reasons to do master's before PhD. So our program's PhD deadline has passed already, like nothing, but, you know, I don't know if you're applying this year or next, but you could potentially apply to master's and PhD programs and see where you get in. Yeah, Ian.
So I read online that even if you have undergraduate at UC Santa Cruz, you still have to send your transcript to the
Yes.
program, like within the school.
Yes.
Is that online or is that like,
You just
a
request
letter?
your unofficial transcript from the registrar, and then when you fill up application form, you upload it as a PDF.
okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
because we don't, you know, me as an admission committee faculty, I don't have access to the transcript information, so it needs to be done, yeah. But it's pretty easy to do. Any other questions? Okay, Sheila, I think it's your turn. We
Thank
already lost some,
Yeah, before people disappear, we have a Zoom drawing. And the winner today for our Zoom card gift card for showing up today, if he's still here, is Kayan. Are you still here? Let's see.
Kian is there, yes.
That's me.
Okay,
How are you
great.
doing?
Welcome. You're the winner of the Zoom card drawing today. Thank you for coming.
I didn't even know you guys were doing this. I don't even know what this.
Yeah,
How'd
that's,
you- Okay, well, how'd you find out? Did you RSVP? Do I already have your email?
No, I didn't even know you were doing the card drawing. You should
Oh.
have my email and everything.
Okay, great, good. So you're going to win an Amazon card and I'm going to follow up with you and let you know and send it to you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
That's great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
yeah. Welcome to the master's program.
Yeah.
yeah, I tell you, we have a lot more fun.
Great.
So, definitely guys, stay in touch if you have any questions, and, you know, this video or maybe video from a November meeting will be posted on our website. We'll push you on that. And so if you have any friends who are interested, but they missed this orientation, you can forward it to them, you can forward the slides, and you can answer their questions or direct them to me or Econ Grad Coordinator. All right.
Thank you.
The slides will be posted on our department's master's program website, but we will also follow up with you by email and send you a link.
Yep. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Stay dry.
Ali, are you still there? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm here. I just couldn't find the leave button.
I thought
You
maybe
can
you
find the
had a
door to get out.
Yeah, I found it. Have a good
I can
day.
get you out. I can kick you out. There you go.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hi.
Okay.
Okay,
So
how do we-
Sheila, I'm
Yeah.
going to email you the PDF of the slides right now.
That would be perfect, and I'll get them up right now too. The orientation from last time is already on the master's page.
Oh, good.
But this one, I didn't hit the recording right at the
No,
beginning.
it is recording.
It is now, but oh, I should stop
Oh.
it then too, shouldn't I?